Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the 8th Academic Symposium on Production Engineering of the Lorraine School of Engineering, University of São Paulo, USP. Thank you for coming, and we hope you enjoy this international panel. I'm a professor, Andrei Bonamigo, from Fluminense Federal University, and you'll be the chair of this international panel. I'm a professor at the Production Department at the UF and the research about the production engineering and the service management here. I would like to welcome the professor Derico from Italy, Marina from Australia and China, Pinar from Turkey, and Eric from Netherlands. This panel discuss the trends and opportunities in the digital transformation of services, considering the perspective of technology, strategic management, via cooperation, and the resource complementarity in the service ecosystem. By the panel, we hope to provide insights for the participants to reflect on their recognized opportunities and the barriers in the service management, and how digital transformation adoption can contribute in this context. My colleagues and international professors, on behalf of the Generator Coordination of SAEPRO, Professor Langi, Professor Fabrício, Professor José Branco, we would like to welcome you and thank you for all by the kindly accepting the invitation to be with us today. This panel is titled Innovation and Competitiveness, Trends and Opportunities in the Service of Digital Transformation. To those of you who are participating with us, I suggest that you point you for questions or doubts that you would like to discuss with the guests at the end of the panel. Post these doubts and the questions in the chat, in the comment chat back. Your participation is very important. I now invite the professors to introduce yourselves. I start for the Federico from Italy. Please, thank you, Federico, for coming today to enjoy with us. And please, introduce yourself.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Federico Lanzalonga from the University of Turin. I'm currently research fellow at the University of Turin in Italy, but also at the University of Lodz in Poland. And thank you for having me, first of all, and thank you for the opportunity to share some ideas related to such important topic, I think. And I'm involved most in accounting because I'm also a chartered accountant in Italy. And my research field try to merge together the two main topics that are now characterizing all the evolution of the companies that are technologies and sustainability. And so all the speech, all the things that I will try to develop and I hope we will try to develop together are related at most to technology that I think is also one of the main milestone of the symposium, but also sustainability, because I think that these two topics cannot be considered standing alone. We need to merge these two topics. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Federico, for a presentation. Now, I'd like the Marina. Marina, thank you for coming, and please introduce yourself for us.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marina Zhang. I'm sending you greetings from Sydney, Australia. So it's 1 o'clock local time here, 1 a.m. My research is in innovation studies and technological management. So recently, I joined a research institute at the University of Technology, Sydney, and the name Australian-China Relations Institute. So I'm increasingly moving towards technological innovation intersection with geopolitics. So I'm looking at critical technologies, including digital transformation, and I look at critical technologies, including semiconductors and clean energy transition that also touches on electric vehicles, critical mineral processing, and so on. All those topics are related to tech race, or you say tech war between the US and China. This is just an extension of my academic training in innovation studies, that is to look at innovation and its global impact on global power dynamics. So I'm really excited to join this international panel and contribute my thoughts on this important topic on innovation, competitiveness of services in terms of digital transformation. Thank you.
Perfect, Marina. Thanks. I would like to enjoy the Pinar to introduce yourself. And Pinar, thank you for coming. We're very happy to accept your invitation. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Andrea, and I'm very happy to be here with you to discuss on very important, topics and field. So I would like to introduce myself. I received my BA degree in international finance, and my MBA and my PhD is in Istanbul State University, Marmara University. I have graduated from in Istanbul Marmara University, and I have worked as a researcher in a European Union project. The main frame is about entrepreneurship, and I have several national and international publications about talent management and innovation, entrepreneurship mostly, and also the digital innovation. Nowadays, I am working on sustainability and the green dynamic capabilities and sustainability. The field or the industry is tourism industry in Turkey. So me and my colleagues conducted research about the capabilities and sustainability of innovation. And I am currently a lecturer in Istanbul Medipol University and serving as a chair in Human Resource Management Department. Thank you so much to be here. I'm very happy.
Thanks, Pinar, for presentation. And Rick, I appreciate your accept your invitation too. Please introduce yourself for us.
Yeah, so many thanks for having me. It's great to be part of this very interesting session. So my name is Rick Hollen. I'm a professor at the Amsterdam Business School, part of the University of Amsterdam, the largest university in the Netherlands. Very international university. For sure, also many students from Brazil, I believe. Besides, so I teach on strategy, on innovation, on digital business, on various levels: MBA, MSc, BSc, EPMS. So these are partly executive studies and partly regular studies. On top of that, I'm a managing research associate at the Amsterdam Center for Business Innovation. So this is a premier knowledge center of the University of Amsterdam. And as a center, we do a lot of different projects for governments, companies, large companies and small companies, and other organizations in relation to digital, in relation to innovation in general, and strategy. So we do, among others, many monitoring projects. So, for example, we monitor innovation in the port of Rotterdam, Europe's biggest port. But we also do a lot of projects in, for example, chemicals, maritime shipbuilding, but also in the area of sports. So a lot of different sports, of course, are there. But so and many more fields. So we look into innovation, we look into strategy, and we see how governments and organizations could improve the innovation performance of their organizations, how we could improve the innovation performance of certain regions, of certain industries in general. The part of our center is the Amsterdam Digital Transformation Lab. This is quite recent initiatives, and within that center, we do a lot of research on digital transformation within firms and regions. So also, I think in relation to that, this session is very interesting today. I'm looking forward to the discussions we will have and to your questions. Digital transformation in general is one of my favorite topics to study and to investigate. I think very relevant, also from a performance point of view. So I think it's good that we have some discussions about all this today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rick. We observe you have a strong team here to discuss about innovation, competitiveness, and the SAEPRO digital transformation from the different perspectives. Yeah, and to start the conversation about this topic, I will start ask a point about to Federico. Federico, in your opinion, what are the key topics for the leveraging competitiveness and innovation in services via digital transformation? I start by Federico, but others feel free to expose your idea about this topic. Okay?
Thank you, Andre. Talking about digital transformation, I think it's quite important to discuss about the radical change that we are witness. And in particular, I think that it's not just about talking about the technology or the software to adopt, but it's about to rethinking how all the company are operating and creating value. In particular, I think that there is a sort of a revolution in business model, daily operation, and also in the long-term strategy, in the vision of the companies. And that's, I think, it's the main point. So we already know that digital transformation in the services sector in particular is in some way integrating digital technologies. But I think it's also important to consider the human side of this revolution. I know that I'm pretty sure that during our conversation, we will speak about cloud computing or big data, or why not artificial intelligence. But I would like also to introduce you another technology that I think is a little bit underestimated, that is called low code or no code, that basically means try to develop little software that give you the opportunity to automate some operation in the ordinary activities. For instance, if I'm not wrong, a study by Gartner in 2022 forecast that in the next years, the whole market of no-code will involve more than $26 billion. So that's just to give you an idea of the impact that this technology can have. And I think that this technology that we can sum up in no-code technology can represent a significant shift in how all the organization can face the technological complexity. So basically, I think it's important to underline how this technology can remove many of the traditional barriers, and in particular, how this technology can give the opportunity to all the operators to simplify all the routinary activities that they have in the daily work life, And basically, I would like just to highlight this technology that could have a real impact. And so it's not just about artificial intelligence, because I think that artificial intelligence could be probably one of the main characters of the discussion. But I would like also to put on the same page no-code technology, because it could make easy for everyone, and in particular for all the non-technical employees, to directly contribute to the company's digital solutions. And so, of course, we need to discuss also about all the skills that this technology needs to be developed, to be applied. And in particular, we need to consider problem solving, because of course, when you try to introduce something new into a company's or an organization, you need to consider that the employees are always try to apply a little bit of resistance to this change. And so problem solving is quite important. But one of the most important characteristics, one of the most important feature of this technology is to enhance all the multidisciplinarity, the interdepartmental collaboration, and the creativity. And so, for instance, we can imagine a workplace where there is a non-technical staff, and to develop, to try new solutions, they can use intuitive interfaces and design a workflow and modify the traditional application to meet the new business needs, because we know that the market is continually changing. And so this capability can dramatically reduce all the timing that the organization need to answer to the market demands. And yeah, basically, I think I can go to the conclusion of this brief answer. I think that while technology is such no-code or artificial intelligence, so basically all the disruptive technologies that we can imagine can have a crucial role, can be a crucial tools also for achieving the competitiveness into the market, is also quite important to renew all the corporate culture, to really embrace this paradigm shift. And we know that digital transformation requires also an holistic approach that we need to consider. And so basically, I think that the corporate leaders, the role of corporate leaders needs to be really relevant, really crucial in expanding some cultural and also cultural open-mindedness, and also to promote a new vision into technology. So only with a concrete and a visionary commitment, let me say, from the governance of the company, all the organization can really leverage the potential of disruptive technology, and also reshape all their process, and why not achieve also sustainable competitive advantage over the time. So I hope that I was clear. And thank you very much for listening to me. I think I can leave the floor to someone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Federico. Interesting considerations here. And go ahead, Pinar, Marina, Rick, feel free to your considerations.
So you want me to talk?
Yeah, yes, feel free.
Okay. I started the researching digital transformation some years ago, from trying to understand China's digital platforms, especially in the booming sector of e-commerce. So I started from a very sort of network perspectives. I'll try to look at the relationships between the platform companies like Alibaba and Tencent, and their multiple complementers providing services on such platforms. So I try to understand complementary relationships between platform firms and firms. And I think COVID has changed a lot of things, including our research. During the COVID, I had a PhD student who's from Bangladesh, and he told me about his grandfather and how difficult it was for his grandfather to go to see a doctor in Dhaka because they're living in rural Bangladesh. And I said, at the time, in Australia, we started to have digital medicine, online medicine, telemedicine, and including Australian government, including a very big data transformation project Australian government has implemented. That is, we could all have centralized data to medical records and so health records and so on. So I said, why can't your grandfather just, see a doctor if it's only for not surgery, if only for consultation? You can do it online. And he said, that's impossible in Bangladesh. So, and since then, he started to look at the digital transformation in health in Bangladesh. And he was looking at, he was promoting for it in a sense. So it made some quite impressive progress. And this, the project also involves not just the hospitals and the government, but also specialized medical services companies that help digital transformation in health sector. And then I extended my research in digital transformation in recent years. That is, I started to look at supply chain vulnerabilities and supply chain management, especially during the disruptions caused by geopolitical tensions. And I was looking at how digital transformation can help, can provide more competitive solutions in this area. And specifically, I was working on the industrial policy paper for Australian, that is looking at how Australian can develop innovative and competitive solutions in its manufacturing sector. You might think, well, manufacturing, that is not services. It's not. But manufacturing involves not just making things, physical things. Manufacturing, modern manufacturing, advanced manufacturing actually involves a lot of manufacturing services. Those are largely based on digital technologies. In a sense, is a type of digital transformation used in services. So my argument for Australian government is instead of getting into the arms race with other countries trying to build onshore manufacturing facilities, Australia should develop very competitive services in manufacturing. The reason is because Australia, as you know, is a country with very small population and an extremely very expensive labor force. So involving into producing things is not going to help Australia. So for Australia to insert itself in the global value chain, to be a competitive player and relevant player, the best solution is to develop digital services solutions. So, and all this research actually started from a project I did in China, that is to look at transformation of a traditional heavy machinery company in China that has gone through digital transformation. So the reason was in heavy machinery manufacturing sector, companies, they sell their products. For example, the blowers, you probably don't know what a blowers is a big machine. If you digging a big tunnel, you need to have this big blower. heavy industrial level blower to sort of circulate the air. And China is catching up quite quickly on this kind of heavy machinery equipment, but not so much on digital transformation in terms of providing better customer services in the remote way to help customers, because most of those customers are in very remote areas, and most of their customers wouldn't be able to have backups. For example, 2 big blowers, and they have 1. And if this machine is breakdown, that means the whole operations would be delayed. So in this sense, to solve these problems, obviously, this company actually involved into several very important innovation projects. That is to transferring their data into digital solutions. So we call this digital data-driven innovation. So therefore, these are just a couple of examples I have involved in digital transformation in services. I think this is extremely important in the current geopolitical environment, where I probably will answer this question, I guess, a little bit later, to address this issue a little bit later, about how to use data and the data governance. But I think I stop here and then let others to talk about their research on digital transformation. Thank you.
Perfect, Marina. Thank you for your considerations. Yeah. And now, Pinar, please share us your opinion about this topic, please.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. And first, I would like to highlight why is this service ecosystem is so important, especially in Turkey, because more than half of the, all the industries, including the manufacturing industry's profits, they are responsible for. The service is responsible for nearly the half of the whole industry profits. So it is important, but there are so many variables which affect this system, this ecosystem, the service system. So I would like to look at in a holistic perspective by giving the strategic outputs, giving the technology usage capacity and the dynamic capabilities. So organizations or the service systems need to consider so many dimensions. I think one of them is the strategic perspective, because they are they are dealing with so many issues, and they need to look in a more strategic point of view by collaborating with their vendors or suppliers, or if we define them as partners in these B2B business models. And also they need talented people, and they need an organizational learning or organizational learning logic in order to spread the knowledge into the system, into the organizations. So also customers are also the partners of this system, of this process for digitalization. And nowadays we are experiencing empowered customers, like tailored services into specific individual customers and mass customization. So service is going somewhere, which the companies or the organizations try to respond the expectations of customers, so their needs. And for the digitalization, of course, the new business models are the requirements, but it is not so easy to create new ideas, to create new innovative business models. So again, it is, I think, it's a flow. It's a flow of data, information, and knowledge and wisdom flow. It's a pyramid. So in order to increase the capacity or dynamic capabilities or technology usage capacity, the companies, the system should follow this flow, which they need to receive, or they need to find the data, and the data should be evolved to information, and it become knowledge, and the wise systems will evolve, which means that it's the wisdom which companies should learn, and they should learn how to embed this wisdom into their systems. This wisdom includes learning capability, includes organizational innovative models, and it includes several issues regarding this digitalization. And this digital transformation, of course, this is a process to improve an entity by triggering significant changes to its properties through combinations of information and competing communication and everything. So yes, it is the first, I think, suggestion for organizations to increase their capacities, increase their technology usage capabilities, and learning to innovate. I believe, and also the research which I already conducted targeted for organization to create a culture, a learning culture. So it is not easy for just embedded a wisdom to the organization. It is a logic. So it is about creating value, both creating value its shareholders, creating value to its environment. And this digitalization process, I will talk about lately about the boundaries, or about the negative effects or negative barriers. But now I just want to I just want to highlight how organizations be competitive in this environment. This is, I think, learning environment, learning to innovate. All the people in the system, they may change, the companies, the organizations may change strategic objectives as an inter-organization relationship progress and potential with new trajectories are evaluated in the system. So it's about exploration, exploitation of activities also between the organizations and within the organizations in order to be more digitalized. So according to my field, the strategic management, I recommend the system, the services, to check the environment, the external environment, which there are several forces such as technology and the demographics and the economics and politics, so many external environmental factors which indirectly affect the organizations. And now we are focusing on mostly the technology, the digitalization and digital strategies. So in order to decide on digital strategies, again, they need a decision-making process, which some people should decide on something, some strategies. So it is an ability, again, it is an ability, and it is also the part of a learning culture for the system. So the initial point, I think, is all about learning how to digitalize, how to make the innovations, how to create new ideas for this system, and also the relationship between the partners in this ecosystem. Who are the partners? These are service providers and buyers, and mostly the two different businesses. So their collaboration, their culture. So the culture is coming here as a new dimension. So if their culture are so different, so it is not easy to decide a main purpose. Even this is a digitalization process or another process, but here the culture should be connected between two partners because they are working. In my research, I will talk about it, but it was HRIS software system all around the world. But there, it is a software system which support the companies by giving all the human resource management functions, started from the hiring and career development and some technical HR processes, but they are serving to another company. And so they have to know their needs and expectations, and also the two different culture is coming together. So this is all about, again, the strategic point of view and the culture and collaboration between, especially for B2B businesses. And then they can succeed on some areas, and they can be more profitable, or they can increase their technology usage capabilities. So, and I would like to finalize in this first round that I think one of the most important thing is value co-creation, adding value. And so, you know, it's all about, it's all about customers can effectively search for information using digital devices, bringing so many benefits. So companies also provide those benefits to customers, but they need to benefit from this process. So value co-creation is the collective mindset or collective benefit and collective purpose for services in the system, especially in terms of digitalization. So I don't want to take your time so much, but there are so many things to talk. Maybe in the late hours I can explain again. Thank you.
Thank you, Pinar. Interesting reflections and the points that you list for us. Thank you. And now I'd like to Rick to expose your ideas, your opinion about this first topic.
Yeah, thank you. I think that Federico, Pinar, and Marina address quite nicely some key topics for leveraging competitiveness innovation, right, via digital transformation. Maybe zooming out a bit on the big picture from my view, based on extensive research and listening and learning with companies and governments. I think we could distinguish between 4 levers of digital transformation. So levers, that's in American English, right? I think if you took British English, it would be levers, right? We're talking about the same, right? So levers for levers. So factors leveraging this innovation. I think we can distinguish 4 types of levers. First one is new digital technologies. Second one is new management practices or new management processes, new management techniques. So how do we, for example, how do we coordinate within our organization? How do we coordinate activities? But also, how do we motivate our employees? And how do we set goals? How do we make our strategic decisions? So any changes in that, we call that sort of management innovation, right? But changes in these management practices can be a very important lever for digital transformation. So we have new digital technologies, we have new management practices. A third one would be new or different organizational forms. So basically, organization is a very important lever for digital transformation. And co-creation, the fourth one. So co-creation with external partners. So it could be, for example, new partners. It could also be new forms of collaborating with existing partners. This is also a bit about how you are positioned within the relevant ecosystem, right? So both Marina and Pinar touched upon this relevance of ecosystems. Increasingly, firms are embedded in ecosystems, and the way they deal with them, and the way they coordinate and relate with the ecosystem partners is very important for their servitization or any digital transformation. I think also touching upon this first point made by Federico, that we should not forget about the human actor. I once read this very interesting book. It's called the Technology Fallacy. I think the subtitle was like "How People Are the Real Key to Digital Transformation." And I think we can also see this back in those 4 levers I just mentioned, right? So of course, digital technology Very, very important, right? And increasingly also AI. So we recently set up an AI monitor for the Netherlands. Very interesting. But it's not just about technology, right? So this would be the technology fallacy, as also indicated in that book. So it's also very much about management, about organization, organizational structures. It's also very much about co-creation, about how you collaborate with other entities within your ecosystem, within your relevant networks. So it's actually all four of those. And what we see for years in our studies is that firms that are doing well on all these four aspects are actually more successful in their digital transformation efforts. We see for years that firms that only focus on the technological part are less successful than firms that also focus on the non-technological part. In other words, the potential of any innovation and also the potential of digital transformation in general increases by also looking at the non-technological aspects. So that's a key thing we keep on addressing also to firms and government. So yes, it's very important, digital technology, all the changes, that all the things which are suddenly possible, which were not possible before. However, in order to be really successful with any digital transformation, you also need to look at the people side, the soft side, the structure of your organization. And interestingly, it's very much the interaction between these different levers that has such an important impact. So it's not only the fact that we should look beyond technology, we should also take into account that if you think very carefully about the technology, and maybe you think also carefully about the other things, but they do not interact in a good way, then you will not enjoy that much the benefit of your efforts into digital transformation as an organization. So it's about the interaction between the different levers. It's also about having this integrated approach, right, already from the outset. So it should be focused on all of these dimensions, right? And actually, maybe a small side step, but we as academics, we also always try to explain why one firm, one organization is more innovative and more successful in the innovation than other firms, right? And what we see more or less for years is that 25% of this variety we can explain from a technological point of view, and 75% or 70% we can explain by the more soft factors, right? So the non-technological determinants of innovation. So that would be my main thoughts when you ask about important levers for digital transformation. It's technology, it's also the human side, and it's the combination of those which is particularly relevant and impactful. Thanks.
Thanks, Rick, for consideration. Choose very interesting your points or perspective too. Before we start the second round of questions, I would like to emphasize it to those who are participating with us. I suggest that you point out your questions or those that you would like to discuss with the guests at the end of the panel. Yeah, put in the chat. You will be share your question, comments here. Okay. We start now the second round of the questions. The second round, in your opinion, what are the main obstacles, barriers, or inhibitors that you consider to be for the development and innovation of services through digital transformation? We can start by follow the flow here, and by the Federico. Would you start share your opinion about this topic?
Yes, sure. So, talking about barriers for innovation, I think I have some researcher bias because I immediately think about the technology acceptance model by Davis, a research in 1985 that basically consider two main points to overcome the resistance to change. I think that resistance to change could be considered one of the most important elements always consider the human side of the technological innovation. And basically, I consider this model because it highlights two significant elements like the perceived usefulness, and the easy of use. So to be penetrating in a company with a technology, this technology needs to be perceived by the user as useful, and it needs to be easy of use. And I think these two elements are really important because it's not just about the hesitation towards new technologies. It's not just about a reluctance by the employees. It's not just about to be lazy to introduce new technology. It's also about how much this technology could be considered useful. And how much is also the time that you need to spend to introduce these technology in your routine activities. So basically, I think that to be really, on the topic, we need to consider a bottom-up approach to develop these technologies. And in particular, if an employee perceives a new digital tool as something beneficial, something user-friendly, something that don't need to be trained for a lot of time, something that you can really learn in a brief time, is something that he or her or she, them is really interesting to adopt in daily activities. And so it's crucial also for organization leaders to consider this new technology, but also a clear communication of these technologies, and also some learning, some demonstration to the employees to show the benefits of the technology, and not just like, okay, this is the new tool, and from now you need to operate in this way. So we need also to consider different elements. Of course, when we talk about, and we already discussed it, we need to consider all the environmental around the company. We need to consider all the exogenous factors that influence a company. And I have an example for you. An example that is quite related to my country, Italy. And I experienced this example it was in 2019. And the government decided to introduce electronical invoicing. And that was something that immediately complicated the life of many operators, and it was quite impossible to absorb this huge change in all the daily operation. And basically, it was including B2B operation, but also B2C operation. So all these transactions will be recorded automatically and electronically. And it was something difficult also, because a lot of people have no more a rule within a company. They lose their power because they maybe was the only one in the company. Just think about a small company, not a huge company. Maybe the record invoice was the main rule within the company, and suddenly I have no rule within my company. So this was a problem, but I think that nowadays the things are quite different. So I would like to tell you all the story, because this electronic invoicing gives the opportunity to generate, to receive, to store all the electronic documents. So Italian government tried to go paperless, and that was quite new for our environment. And a lot of people initially have seen that as a complication and nothing more. Nothing more. Just try to change all the habits of the people. It's really difficult. And so when the perspective on this introduction really shifted, I think the best thing nowadays to consider is that now no one wants to going back to the previous form of invoicing. That's why, because nowadays the accounting system is quite automated. Let me say, we shift from a person that need to record all the elements of the invoice to a validation process. So the accounting system provide you with an invoice with all the elements from your customer or your supplier. You need to validate all the information. That's the change. And you don't need to record it manually. And so it open to new opportunities, and in particular open to a new rule for all the accountants and the bookkeepers that now have the opportunity to learn new strategies and maybe to try to sell themselves also in other way. Let's think about, for instance, a chartered accountant that don't need to spend a lot of time in record manually invoices, but can learn about the latest technologies, go to the customer and try also to change the strategy, give the opportunity to explore a new direction to company. So I think that this example illustrate in some way how some barriers are more operational barriers than real cultural barriers. But I think that this example show the condition of a technological change imposed by law. That I think is one of the points that we need to keep in mind. This was imposed by law. Probably if it was just suggested, we will be not now in this condition. Probably a lot of people really struggling with these technologies nowadays. But when you impose something, so external factor again, technological elements are quickly and easily spreading all around the company. So basically, the main purpose of the government was for sure fiscal purpose, because you can have a better track of all the transaction. But I think that go paperless give also the opportunity to have a better preservation of all these administrative documents and also reducing the processing time. Before I conclude, I just like to highlight the dual nature of sustainability that arising from the use of this specific technology, but I think we can talk also in a bigger picture related to this double-faced dual nature. And in particular, on the one end, we have the opportunity to go paperless and reduce a lot the paper consumption that are related to documents from a company with a lot of documents that needs to be stored physically before, and now we have cloud, we have all these opportunity to store that documents. But on the other hand, I would like also to highlight that the extensive use of server and cloud needs a lot of use of water or other cooling resources in some way. So it may be necessary to understand which will be the better trade-off among these two situations. This could be, I think, the only way in which we can solve some problem, definitely, and not just for a brief period of time. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Federico, for your considerations in the reflections. Very interesting points exposed for us. And now I would like to ask to the Marina, share your opinion about this topic, please.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you for the opportunity to explain this very important question. My research on digital transformation suggests that digital transformation actually can be divided into several stages. The first stage is digitize content. So that is including e-invoices, e-human resources, e-training, or whatever. Because first, you need to digitize those content. And second stage involves digitalization of processes. So that involves more kind of cloud computing, AI. You need to use a lot of computing power. So across these different stages, and the third stage of obviously is the implementation, is one critical component in digital transformation across these stages is data. So I think I remember I read an article, I think published perhaps in 2018 or 19 by a prominent professor in the US and in AMR, Academy of Management Review. So it's a highly theoretical paper. So the paper is talking about digital transformation, but his argument is really from how to develop, how to create value in digital transformation. That is using data-driven innovation model. So data-driven, we're not talking about just a company's employee data. We're not just talking about your customers' data. We're talking about data across an ecosystem, digital ecosystem. So the reason I'm talking about this comes to Andrea's question about barriers to digital transformation. In my view, especially when my research increasingly involving geopolitics, is the security of data and the willingness or unwillingness for anybody, firms, individual, government, to share data. Because at the moment, even companies, the case I just talked about in my first round of answers is for example, this heavy machine equipment manufacturing in China, when they did digital transformation on services, and apparently they encountered a very, very, very severe barrier is some state-owned enterprises. They were engaged in very sensitive infrastructure, or sensitive projects. There's no way they could break the rules of sharing the data on third-party platforms. But for this manufacturing services provider, without those critical customer information, your picture is not full. Therefore, if your data set is not full, the picture, the innovation, the services you can come up with is not full. So this is a kind of chicken and egg issue. So, so the company actually did a lot of extra work, including building whatever, I can't even remember the details of the software or the computing system. I think is they try to isolate them, but still they use the aggregate the data, the central data, without disclosing any more details or whatever. So it was really quite a challenging project to implement, It's easy to digitize, easy to digitalization, but it's difficult to implement. So this barrier actually extends to the industry and societal level, and even at the global level. So, for example, in a country like Bangladesh, the case I talk about, health digitalization, and in a country where digital infrastructure is very poor and the Data Protection Act is missing, I mean, how users feel comfortable to contribute their health data into the system? But in the country, without comprehensive data set of different patients, and you won't able to get a good picture. So again, the barrier is how to utilize data. To be able to utilize data, the first thing first, you need to have regulations to protect data. And at the global level, again, this is becoming even more severe. Let's talk about EV. What an electric vehicle is all about. It's basically about computing, right? And the EV collects user data. And this, without global data governance protocols, and I mean, this becomes a big challenge for companies, EV manufacturing in China, to trying to sell the EVs overseas, and even Tesla. I mean, Tesla's EV made in China and sold in China actually the controls. So, in order to better utilize data, better to provide more services through digital transformation, I think this issue is not just at the firm level at all. Is very much at the government level. So we do need to have kind of international protocol that help countries to develop sensible data protection acts. So therefore, data can be transferred cross borders, just like capital, just like talent. Data, again, as a strategic asset, which should be able to freely flow across borders, and the assumption and the condition that data are properly governed. So I think this is, in my view, the biggest barrier for the future of digital transformation in services. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina, for your exposition, your considerations. Very interesting. Pinar, in your opinion, in this second round, what are main obstacles, barriers, or inhibitors that you consider to be for the development and innovation of the service through digital transformation?
Okay, thank you, Andrea. And I would like to continue with by giving example about Amazon, its smart warehouse applications, and which Marina suggests us that data is so crucial valuable for organizations for digitalization and continuing the system effectively and efficiently. So it's also several companies using the system, using the data with the support of AI, with the support of digitalization, especially this artificial intelligence, because in the past it was just the human, it was just the people forecasting the demands of the products in the warehouses. So the stock planning, somehow it was difficult, but right now the artificial intelligence completely having the system and manage the system, and they forecast the demands very easily. So Amazon is, I think, one of the best practice for explaining this data technology usage. And yes, there are several barriers for companies, and I suggested that the system, not the companies, but yes, the whole system should focus on their core competencies, and they need to eliminate the unnecessary activities if they are not good at, if their activities are not valuable, or they should consider their core competences if this core competence is rare or unique, and they need to create novel ideas. So unless there is a competition, so this competition, the new markets, new entrants in the industry environment may be a threat for the system, for the other digital service providers. So it's a barrier. Competition is also a barrier in this digital environment, and so the organization's core businesses may face a considerable threat of being disrupted by competitors' products or services based on new digital technologies, especially for 3 or 5 years. They learn how to innovate. They learn how to use these digital models. So the other barriers are, I think, lack of perception of the value co-creation benefits, and lack of understanding, lack of perception of the economic gains, inefficient information flow, which in the first round I highlighted the data, information, knowledge, and wisdom hierarchy, or this pyramid, which again it's so important for the system, for the services, in order to use their information. And so again, the flow, or efficient information flow is lead to an organizational sustainability also. But some organizations with very strict, or they have structural inertia, and they are not flexible or agile, so they cannot easily adapt to the new technology. So I think organization structure is another barrier for the system. Their information flow, their structural inertia, their decision-making, maybe centralized decision-making processes, which decision-making process should be decentralized, and they need to spread the empowerment and decision-making all of the system. And again, the digital disruption. These are all the kind of barriers, and I just want to list several issues which I make a research about this field and topics. So involvement of partners, involvement of actors in the process, in this digital transformation process, for each step. It's very unless it's gonna be a barrier, the specialized knowledge. It's also coming from the traditional view from Frederick Taylor to be specialized in with a deep knowledge. But the traditional view also can be used nowadays in system organizations. So the support of governance. These are all the barriers which the companies should handle with the organizations and the system. So I would like to highlight those issues about the barriers. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pinar, for your consideration. It's very interesting, your thoughts, your reflections about this item. And now I would like to ask you to Rick expose your idea, your opinion about the second topic. Please, Rick, go ahead.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, I can fully endorse, based on all the research we did, some of the barriers, as mentioned by Marina, Federico, and Pinar. So maybe starting with this resistance to change, as Federico mentioned. So we indeed see this internal resistance. So this within company resistance as a major barrier for a digital transformation. And if you look very closely to that, then in particular, the resistance of the middle management is quite remarkable. So one advice would be here to really make sure that the middle management is on board when you want to embark on any digital transformation trajectory. I mean, and this can come from various sources, right? So why could some middle managers be very resistant to any digital transformation? Well, for example, maybe they perceive the change as a threat, right? Maybe as a threat to their current position or what have you. Sometimes it's a priority issue. So they tend to sometimes they tend to focus on other issues. So giving more priority to other issues over some digital transformation. This may have to do with their reward system, right? So maybe they're rewarded for certain issues and not rewarded per se for the digital implementation. It could do with one reason could be the perception of the digital transformation. So to what extent do they see it as a valuable thing, as something that companies should indeed embark on? So all these things could cause middle management in particular, but also, of course, employees at other levels resistant to change. And this could be quite a barrier to digital transformation. We see. I think the second point was made by Marina, this willingness or unwillingness by clients to share data, super important. So indeed, I mean, if you want to embark on this digital transformation, usually you're successful or more successful when you're able to receive data from clients, or when you're able to have a sort of feedback loop, between the clients and your organization. You want to have a good flow of information, a good flow of data within the relevant ecosystem, within your relevant network. And when, for example, clients are hesitant to share any data, then some of these very necessary feedback loops are actually missing. And that can be very difficult to be successful in digital transformation when those feedback loops are missing. Oftentimes, this data at the client side is crucial for innovation trajectories, in particular for digital transformation trajectories, right? So indeed, so one recommendation would really be here to think about ways to increase the willingness of clients to share data. Now, I agree with Marina. This could be solved partly by having a more international protocol of doing so. However, you could also look at maybe more feasible solutions at the short term, to just discuss very well with your clients, what do we agree on, so what type of data would you give me, what could you expect, what about confidentiality? So address each of these issues on a one-to-one basis. We see that works quite nicely oftentimes, right? So it's all about the agreements you make with your clients, and if your clients are happy with the agreements, they're more eager to share data with you, right? So, and of course, this may have to do partly with this governmental safety net, but this is at least something you could start with. And then the third thing, as also mentioned by Pinner, I noted it down. So this lack of perception, for example, of the importance of co-creation, right? The role of the decision-making process, I mean, usually important. I mean, it partly ties into this notion of leadership. So we see this, in the literature, we make this distinction between transactional leaders and transformational leaders, among others, right? And I mean, the name says it all, right? So if you have a transformational leader, this is really enabling usually digital transformation, whereas if you have a more of a transactional focused leader, this could really hinder digital transformation, right? So you have to look carefully at leadership, at management, and in relation to that also to the communication flows within the organization. Interestingly, also the length of the CEO tenure, so how long the CEO is with the organization, seems to play a role. So based on some research, the optimal is 13 years. No, but so the conclusion would be, of course, this is an average, right? So it does not always apply. But if you would, for example, have a CEO which is 20 years the CEO of the company, this could inhibit digital transformation. And if you have a very, very new CEO, this could also inhibit innovation because of a lack of experience, for example, with the organizational settings, and of a lack of awareness of all the organizational parameters that need to be adjusted to make the digital transformation a success, right? So this is an interesting aspect. Now we already discussed, this role of customers with data sharing, but one thing we see is that organizations should, of course, partly listen to their customers when it comes to their digital needs, but should also be careful sometimes with listening too much to their existing customers, because sometimes their existing customers prevents organizations from being very innovative. Most clients want to do things, wants to have product a little bit better, a bit more improved, right? So just listening 100% to your existing customers could prevent you from also helping and creating your future customers, right? Which could be different, which could be relevant from a digital transformational point of view. Culture plays a major role. So a conservative culture could be considered as a major barrier to digital transformation, right? So what you want is more of an innovative culture, very importantly, right? So we often have the saying here that culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? So culture is very important. So if you want to work on your digital transformation, make sure that the culture is there to have a successful digital implementation. Make sure that then the processes are also implemented to make it a success, right? Make sure that the internal resistance is limited. And and I think some of the remarks made by the panelists make a lot of sense also in this context. So from our research, these are some of the key considerations when talking about inhibitors of digital transformations, in particular in relation to services.
Thank you, Rick, for your considerations too. Interesting reflections aligning this topic. We observe the complementarity among the perspectives. Yeah. And now we received questions for the participants, Professor Kelly Alonso, that asked the question: I would like to know how the researchers see the challenges of digital transformation and the relationship with the Sustainable Development Goals, yeah, SDG. Please, who would like to expose your idea? Feel free.
I can start.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
A very good question. I mean, when we're talking about digital transformation, we're also talking about, people mentioned multiple aspects of barriers, but we didn't mention energy consumption, especially water consumption, because to run AI, large language models or whatever AI models, and to run data centers, we know water to cool the system is essential. How can we manage digital transformation across the globe, covering all different industries, different businesses, and do we really have enough water? Can we manage clean energy transition, so to speak, that we can use clean energy to run those systems? So those questions are essential, even for example, Amazon. Amazon is building its data centers in countries like Malaysia. Malaysia has become a very important country as a data center for American companies. Why? Because they got more and cheaper water supply. And those centers used to be in Singapore, right next to Malaysia on the border. Now they're moving to Malaysia. And in China, in one province where a lot of water can cool the systems. So, but nevertheless, you relocate your data center, your computing systems to the places where you can have water. But that's, again, is not a sustainable solution. So I think that's a very important question, and I don't know the answer. I don't know whether that will be that's obviously a big big question requires collective global effort to solve. Thank you.
Thanks, Marina, for your considerations. One more. Okay, it's interesting considerations, Marina, and we are in the finally process in this international panel, yeah. And in the last moment now, I would like to share the moment you expose your final considerations about this international panel. Feel free for your final considerations. We can start for Federico.
Thank you again, Andre, for letting me introduce this final consideration moment. Well, I think that it's quite important also to learn from the past. Just after the post-industrialization, all the society was really involved in the maximization of production. What I would like to underline is that the technology adoption doesn't need to be unaware. We need to be aware of all the consequence of the use of technology. That's also a little bit an answer to the previous question. So also to stress about the awareness of people in using technologies that could be of for sure helpful, but also all the issues related to water consumption, but also to the energy consumed itself are quite difficult. And about this, I would like also to in some way open new strands of research or maybe suggest some research question related to these two topics and also to be a little bit consistent with my previous reflection. I would like to stress on 2 points that are, first of all, try to understand the real application of technology acceptance model and for instance try to understand which is the level of the technology introduction into a company that really can shift the paradigm for all the company. And so that could be interesting considering the 2 pillars of the theory that are the perceived usefulness and easy to use of a technology. And I think that if we are able to balance in some way the technology aspect and the sustainability, it could be grateful for the next generation also. And about this, I think that we need also to foster an educational program really sensitive to the sustainability. So we don't need to speak about just digital transformation of technology more in general, but we need to associate to this concept always the sustainability that need to be really stressed because we need a new generation that are really aware about the consequence of the technology and try to have an aware use of these new tools that are emerging that I cannot imagine even where is the finish of this evolution. So I think we need always to be open to new challenge, but also aware of the consequence.
Thanks, Federico, for your consideration and the valuable contribution for this panel. So, thank you. And Marina, please, your final considerations, please.
First of all, thank you for organizing this international panel. And second, I really appreciate every aspect from my fellow panel members, and I learn a lot from you. I'm a very sort of a loyal technologist, so I'm really happy to say that I learned different aspects, and I do appreciate the importance of those factors in both enabling digital transformation and also could be barriers for implementing this digital transformation. So thank you for sharing your considerations. I think fundamentally, when we considering digital transformation, we need to develop a more balanced approach. So digital transformation will, from business perspective, people talking about saving costs, improving efficiency. But I think at the societal level, we also need to consider enabling users, data contributors to benefit from this digital transformation, because we are the owners of our own data, and we contribute by shopping online, we contributing by driving around, leaving our charging patterns with Tesla, and we are entitled to benefit this. I think companies should think about how they can share these benefits of digital transformation with not just their stakeholders, their shareholders, but also with the stakeholders, including users. So this requires a very sort of innovative approach and balanced approach to solve these issues. Thank you.
Perfect. Excellent. I appreciate your considerations and contributions to Marina. And now I'd like to Pinar expose your final considerations, please.
Thank you, Andrea. And by adding the final considerations, I would also want to answer the question about sustainability. For this sustainability process, I'm right now making a research on green sustainability and green environment. For regarding digitalization, first we need to ask a question. I think it is not the topic for today's international panel, but maybe in the future we can talk about it. This is a dilemma. If the company is forced to do something with the which European Union will, I think, will begin in 2026, the carbon border adjustment mechanism, and or they will have an intention to follow the green environmental or sustainability strategy. So this is the two-way for companies. Do they need a legal consideration, legal mechanism, or the companies they have an intention to follow or to contribute to the environment because the resources are so scarce and they are not in balance. So especially in this digitalization transformation, they should consider the environmental contribution. And there are several summits, like one of them is COP, I think. And according to the results of COP summit, there is no any change about all the waste management, water resources, consumption. So there isn't any change. Even they are trying and they have an intention. So this is one part, maybe another agenda to talk about it, to discuss about it. For digitalization, for digital transformation, companies should foster themselves by the knowledge of the employees, by the knowledge of the other companies, and they can use different modern management approaches such as benchmarking, learning from the best practices, of course, because there are real practices which are really good at in this digital transformation. But it is all about learning environment and creating the learning environment in the businesses. So thank you for this fruitful international panel and inviting me. It was a great opportunity for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Pinar, for our brilliant considerations and the contributions for this panel. And now I would like to expose your ideas and the final considerations to close this international panel.
Yeah, so in addition to these very thoughtful considerations by my fellow panelists, two considerations from my side. The first one, I would like to stress the importance of considering interdependencies and dependencies when thinking about digital transformation. Now, we may have implicitly discussed this, when we, for example, talked about customers, right? So of course, you have a dependency with your customers, right? Dependency on their willingness to share data, for example. But I think we should look very broad at the overall ecosystem in which organizations are embedded. So all the factors all the entities that may, for example, complement your service offerings, right? But also other actors. Look at all these entities within the ecosystem and think about, how and to what extent are you as an organization dependent or interdependent with these other entities, because oftentimes this has a very important impact on the success of digital transformation. Now, maybe before embarking on any digital transformation journey, you have your suppliers, you have your clients, you have your complementars, you have different entities, right? And then you embark on this digital transformation, and in the process, actually, the roles that these different entities had in your ecosystem, they may change, right? So maybe your former suppliers would have to play a different role, in the new situation. So you as an organization transform. Right, and maybe it has implications for your suppliers. Maybe you have to take on a different role. Maybe you may even compete with them on certain aspects. And so this is the supplier side, but you also have to look very carefully at all the other entities in your ecosystem that may provide complementary services and products. So how would they be affected by your innovations? To what extent do they need to innovate first before you could innovate successfully? Right, so these challenges are very important to look at from this ecosystem perspective. So bottom line, don't forget about all the interdependencies which are out there, and think carefully about which may be these interdependencies. Maybe you did not really think about all potential complementarities which are out there, which may have an effect on the success of your digital transformation. So that's the first consideration. The second consideration is, don't forget also about the fit with your strategy, right? So both your overall corporate level strategy, but also the business level strategies. I teach a lot about strategy, and of course, strategy is all about, about making choices. First of all, if you don't choose, then you lose, we say. But it's also about alignment, right? So all the different levels of strategy should be aligned. The different elements of strategy should be aligned. So if you embark on this digital transformation journey, and then you should be 100% sure that this is 100% in line with your strategy, and that it's also it relates to the core of your strategy, right? So we see that the organizations that have their strategy and they do some digital transformation on the sides, right? So it's not really core, they want to do some digital transformation, because they just want to do the same as their competitors, maybe. But those organizations, when they do this, when they embark on any digital transformations, but this is not related to their core strategy, then these initiatives tend to be less successful. So if you really are serious about digital transformation, this should not happen at the fringe of the organization. It should really happen at the core of your organization, meaning that it will affect and preferably reinforce the different elements in your organization. It should fit the current strategy. If it does not fit the current strategy, the strategy should be rethought. But so this alignment between the different aspects is really of key importance and can make a substantial difference in having a successful digital transformation versus a less successful digital transformation. So these, I think, would be my two final remarks, in addition to all the wonderful things that has been shared already during this session.
Thanks, Rick, for your consideration, the valuable contributions for us today. It's very interesting your reflections and the insights that you created here, discussing here, and you will contribute for your research and the future, yeah? And guys, we are concluding the international panel. It's a very rich moment of discussion from which we will certainly learn a lot and be able to use this knowledge in our daily lives. We are very thankful for your participation in this 8th SAEPRO. It was great to have you with us. To those of you who have helped us, thank you very much for coming, and I hope you enjoyed the event. The next lecture will be português, mesa redonda, trajetórias e possibilidades na engenharia de produção, com colegas do PPGEP, da UF, professora Kelly, e os mestrandos Bruna, Jéssica, Igor e Matheus. My colleagues, I hope to see you again in another time. Thank you very much for your contributions. I think it's very grateful and very happy to see and for share your knowledge, your experiences, your insights for the future regarding the innovation, competitiveness, and the service digital transformation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Many, many thanks. Many thanks for inviting us. Many thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. Great
Thank you.
to be here on this part of the session.
Keep in touch.